Hi everyone, welcome back to No Name Junction. This is going to be my first proper how-to video. I did attempt one last week and it ended up to be my very first how not to video. So I'm hoping that this won't be the second how not to video. And I don't want to get into tongue twisters on how to, not to, what to, who to. So this is going to be weathering a mineral wagon. Now I know that when I first started a year or so back that I was given quite a few locos and lots of rolling stock as part of a deal I did with somebody. One of my clients wanted one of my paintings, so we swapped a painting or two for a load of running stock and engines and bits and pieces and track and buildings and God knows what. And that's what got me started. But I digress. But one of them was a whole series of sort of private owner mineral wagons. Now you see these on eBay for a couple of pounds, £3-4, nothing much. And I don't even know if they are actually real companies or Hornby's fictitious companies. If they even did fictitious companies, I might be doing them a big disservice in that. But they seem to be very common. And these ones, for instance, these are Bolsover wagons, and I think you can see that. We see them everywhere, and indeed I had another one which I've actually weathered and messed up. This is a Black and Rioch, or Rioch, how it's pronounced, but I sort of tried to make something more than it was, and by distressing it and rusting it and destroying it a little bit. So that is good, but also I did this with a couple of Bachmann wagons. These run on my track now. These are ones that I took from new models, or fairly new models, and I've completely weathered them and destroyed them to a point. Like in the real used look, and I put a real coal load in them. And I know this has been done a load of times by lots of people, so I'm not going to teach anybody anything new. But I just want to show the way I do it, and yeah, I've learned from books and DVDs, and a lot of you guys are already doing it out there. But I wanted to show you how I did it. So without further ado, I'm going to try and turn something like that into something like that, or even better, something like that. So that if you have a lot of these older wagons and you want to do something with them, indeed I've turned Thomas the Tank Engine wagons, plank wagons, into coal loads, and you wouldn't know those from ones that you spent lots of money on as prime models. So, you know, it doesn't have to be that expensive to give yourself a nice bit of running stock with real coal loads or real sand loads or real whatever loads in them. You can buy some of these cheaper models and convert them and make them something a little bit more special on your layout. So that's what I aim to do. We'll see how we go. So without further ado, I'm going to get into that, and yeah, we'll see where it ends up. All the best for now. Catch you in a little while. Bye. Okay, so we are going to, as I say, take one of these Bolsover wagons, and we're going to give it, in my opinion, a facelift. I've already taken one off the chassis, and there's a little bit of glue damage here, but that will not worry once it's all finished. We're going to try, at least it's going to come into something like this. Some of the things you will need initially will be a Phillips screwdriver, quite a stout one, and a couple of pliers to do some damage to the plastic, and to make that a little more subtle is some magic glue, plastic magic, which I use, and that will soften some of the effects before we continue. So okay, let's get started. And first off, I will probably do both of these, but we'll start off with this one. What I'm going to do is just damage what I see. Now you've got to be a little careful. You want it pulled around and bent up and beaten. Looks like it's been in the wars. some of these areas on here actually might do better with that. Be careful because they are brittle, as this is already showing it's breaking off. So I don't know if it's just the hardness of the plastic. I haven't done it with these too much in the past, but they won't put up with too much punishment, I'm sure. Don't want to give them a broken or distressed look where they've been beaten up by different loads over the years. Okay, now that's sort of had some superficial destruction. What I'm going to do now is move these out of the way, and I'm going to use this onto a soft edge, and I'm just going to, if you can see what I'm doing, I'm just going to pop through. Now what I don't want to do is go all the way through. You've got to be a little bit careful. Make these random too, but they're little. Pop the broader you can make this screwdriver, the less pointed here. This one's probably not the best one. I'm not sure if I have another one handy. Oh, I don't know. This might be a bit overkill, but we'll see. Just see what it is, because the other one's a bit worn and was making too many marks. Let's just see what that's doing. That's not so bad. You can see here that all focused quite nicely. You can see the little pushed out indentations that will be from large loads that have been badly loaded by cranes and fallen into place. But you need to make these quite random marks, but don't go so hard, as I said, that you go through. Getting quite a beaten up. Not going to get so much on the end where the door would be, but you're going to get some mucking around with a little bit of close grouping. You can see the sort of, if that will focus up again, please focus. You can see that sort of grouping and the damage, the destruction that's enduring. So we're going to carry on with this, and I will speed this bit up. Enough. But while I've got this out, what I'm going to do is go over all of this business down here, and literally it's going to melt. You can see it's taken off already the signage of the company. I'm not too worried about that. What it's going to do is soften the plastic around, making it look a little bit more authentic and less sharp. Okay, so I've let this sit up overnight, and you can see it's quite a soft edge to where the glue has dried on these things. It's quite a nice effect, really, and it's the same on both. And I shall just clear these ones out the way. We don't need those anymore. But on working on these two, what I'm going to do is, because they're already browned or reddish brown in their base coat colour, I'm actually going to use that, and I'm going to add to that with other rusty acrylic paints, and let that dry off. And once I've done that, then we go on to the next stage from there. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to set up, come back and carry on. So I'm going to put some of that on here, on all of these, and I'm going to go around the inside of this a little bit too. Not too much on the inside, not really, but I'm just going to suggest some different rust, making it quite random, or as random as I dare or can. Putting the dark shade on first, and I'm going to leave a lot of this sort of base coat too, because that will help with the sort of that rusty look. So we continue on. I'm going to speed it up now so that I don't bore you all to death, but you'll see what's going on, and we'll come back and resume in a little while. Okay, so I'm relatively happy with what's gone on, and just checking for pieces that I've missed. Righto, back to it. Now I've dried these off a little bit faster. I put them over a radiator, ambient heat, but it does dry it off quite quickly. Don't put it too much near a heat source, because you can of course warp these. But that done, we're going about using Humbrol Maskell. Now the thing about Maskell is that it is a rubberized solution, so its application is designed to be non-permanent and peelable. That's why we use it. In fact, very similar products are used in watercolors as an artist, and so I've used this extensively, not this particular product, but other products very similar. Now, the thing about Maskell is, or any masking fluid, is that when you apply it with a brush, if you use a good brush, you're going to wreck it. So don't. This is a brush that's pretty much had it. It's got lumps in it, and it's pretty wrecked. But better still is to use something that's not such a problem. For instance, and I'm just going to reach over and get a couple of cocktail sticks out. Now these things, it doesn't matter, because if this Maskell dries on here, it doesn't matter. And let's try and apply Maskell using this. And all I'm doing is random little bits of this product. As you can see, in fact, you can spider it a little bit more. You can be a little bit more precise than you would be with a brush, I reckon. But you get the idea of that. That will focus up nicely. You get to see. Now I'm going to work all the way along and around on this, and we'll speed it up. But the idea is then, once this is dry, we'll carry on. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry and do nothing more to it now until we've got this ready to go for the next part. So catch me in a minute and we'll carry on. Okay, so I've waited pretty much, this is almost dry and probably dry enough to carry on working with. Where it's thickest it's still a little bit pinkish, purplish, but you can see for the rest of the job is pretty much ready to go. So the next stage is to give this a prime coat of grey. It doesn't have to be specific, but this is just a handy primer. But because I'm going to be using weathering powders on these at the end of the day, this is going to be pretty much covered up. But it will serve to give me a finish on this, and which to do something very similar to this at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm going to go and spray these up, and it'll be a quick little section, and we'll come back and carry on. Okay, we're back with the idea now, and we are going to rub off the material that we started putting on with the mask oil, covering up and taking all the mask oil away to reveal the patches of rust as we desired them quite randomly earlier. So there's going to be some stubborn bits, but try and get as much of, if not all of it, ideally all of it, because you don't want any of it peeling off later on. So maybe use a little bit of your nail, or even use something like this, an old toothbrush, just to take the most of it off. I'm sure you probably still will leave some on, but it won't worry too much. But hopefully you can see there, that will focus up. There you are. You can see how the mask oil has caused the random effect of rust peeling through. So what I wanted to do was to start that, and first off I'm going to do a little bit of sleeper grime on the chassis and sort of rub it around a little bit, play with that, and yeah, we'll let that dry off, and then we'll carry on by weathering. So I'm just going to literally go over the whole of this area. Doesn't matter too much by what I've just been doing, is getting some of this onto the base of the wagon. It's not a big deal. Just want to cover the wheels a little bit and clean those up later, but get rid of that lovely shine. And just take that all the way round onto the end of the buffer beams, buffers themselves. But you get the idea. Hopefully that will show you, and yeah, we'll see once it's dry, once it's set up, we'll do the other ones and we'll carry on from there. Okay, right, now we're ready to get going. I've got several weathering powders out, chrome oxide and smoke and iron oxide and black, in that order. And there are others, there are lighter oranges. In fact, I might even get that one out and have a go with that one too. So I've got these options, and it's the real fun bit now. So we're going to start weathering this up. I'm going to go with some of this iron oxide, this dirt, just to, I hope you can see what's happening, to really start messing up this nice rusty paintwork. And a bit of orange into, a bit of rust into there too. Now these don't want to be the same as each other, obviously different degrees of dirt and that build up, and I'm going to make these coal carriers. There's a heavy dependency on darks in this. A bit of lighter rust around the area of the underframe. Put that somewhere a little closer. There we go. Okay, hope that's a little easier to see. It's a real filthy wagon. And if you do overdo a little bit, you can always compensate and go back in with some of the darker shades, even the black, just to knock some of that rust off if it's just too much. And you keep doing this until you've really reached a desired effect. And I think that's looking quite nice. You can keep bashing this up forever in a sense, I suppose. A bit of black soot under there, that's from the coal dust from the top side, and where it lays on the dirty parts on the higher ribs, on these protruding ribs of doors. I might have to go around the other side just to check that I've got that enough. And it's also going to build where you've got broken, again a bit close, there you go. Where you've got broken parts here, where you've dented them from the pounding earlier, then little bits of black will adhere to that too. So, yeah, it's all good. I think it's looking quite nice. What I will do is just bring some dirt in, obviously, because there's going to be coal carriers, so let's get some of this grey away. I'm thinking that's looking pretty dirty for a wagon. Well used, the inside's messed up too. Not so bad. Okay, so I'm going to go and put some dirt and some grime and play around with the other one. Now what these will need, just to set them, is a quick dousing spray of matte medium from the Humbrol range again, and then they'll be good to go, apart from the loads of course. So I'm going to... Okay everyone, that's it. We're at the end of the weathering how-to. We're not quite at the end of the video. I just wanted to show you them sitting on the track and maybe running around and just draw a couple of conclusions. The idea was not only to show you how I weather. I'm not showing you anything new in terms of processes, because many people use the techniques that I've employed to weather their own wagons, so that's a given. But what you're seeing is the way that I personally do it. You're seeing that my take on this subject. I've taken very commonplace Bolsover wagons from Hornby, and I've taken them and I've made them into, I hope, something much more interesting, much more beneficial, certainly adding something nice to your individual layouts. So if you compare it to the Bachmann one, which I did, or the two of them that I did before, which are right there, they look good, but so too does this Bolsover one, and they can be picked up for silly money off eBay and what have you. There's so many of them around, I assume. I don't know how great a detail they are in terms of, but once you've beaten it up a little bit, give it some weathering, some paint, and maybe a nice coal load, it will fit right on in there. So yeah, well, I hope you've enjoyed it anyway, and I've enjoyed making it. And to that end, I would ask that if you've got any comments to make on this, please add them at the end. It's always nice to hear what people think. Also add a like if you did like it, and moreover, if you kindly subscribe to my channel. It takes a little time to film videos like this and then to edit them. So it's always nice to know that people are out there watching them and appreciating them. So if you'd like to subscribe, it's great for me to build an audience. And yeah, I'll catch you all on the next time. I don't know what I'm going to do next. There's probably another update, or maybe another how-to when I think of what I want to do. So all the best for now. I'm going to end with a few shots of this set running around the track, nothing more. And I'll catch you all next time round. Okay, bye for now. Bye-bye.